Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. I've been getting lots of requests from you guys to share more Ukrainian recipes and dishes, and today I wanted to share a really special recipe for savory piroshki. I'll be making my egg and cheese filled piroshki, and these are great both fried and baked. And you can find piroshki all over Eastern Europe and Ukraine and Russia with a variety of different fillings, both savory and sweet. And to make these, we need to start with a really soft yeast dough. Once we have that kneaded and proofing, we could start on the cheesy filling with farmer's cheese, mozzarella cheese, green onions, fresh dill, lots of hard-boiled eggs, and then this incredible filling gets packed into little pockets of dough, and I'm going to be deep frying them today, but I'll leave the instructions for baking them online as well. And the filling inside becomes so incredible. It's just melted, creamy, cheesy, and so delicious. You guys are going to love these from the very first bite. For the full list of ingredients and the printable instructions, don't forget to head on down into that video description box and over to my website. Meanwhile, let's get started. For the yeast dough, we're going to start with 1 cup of whole milk, and I heat mine in the microwave. You want it to be between 120 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll pour that into our large mixing bowl. Sprinkle in 2 teaspoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of dry active yeast. And then pat the yeast down into the milk so it's completely covered, and let this stand for about 5 minutes, allowing the yeast to start proofing. Once the yeast has started to proof, it'll be kind of fluffy and foamy on the top. We can start adding the rest of our ingredients. Add in 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 1/3 cup of melted butter. I'm using unsalted butter today, and 1 large egg. Whisk this all together. You want the egg to be nicely beaten. We'll need 2.5 to 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and you want to add this gradually into your wet batter, whisking after each addition until you have a really soft, just slightly sticky yeast dough. Switch over to a spatula once that batter becomes too thick. Once a dough ball starts to form, I'm going to flour my work surface and then turn this dough out. And then gradually add flour as needed, kneading it in until you have a really smooth and elastic dough, but you want it to stay super soft. And I usually knead the dough for about 4 to 5 minutes until it's nice and smooth. And we'll place it back into our mixing bowl. We'll cover this with a tea towel and then set it into a warm corner of your kitchen to proof for about an hour, hour and a half until that dough is doubled up in size. Meanwhile, we can get started on that cheesy filling. It's so incredibly delicious. You guys are gonna love it. For the filling, we're going to need 6 hard-boiled eggs. I made these last night, peeled, placed them in the fridge. Just grab a knife and dice them into small little pieces. Drop the diced eggs into a large mixing bowl. To the eggs, we'll add in 1/3 cup of mayonnaise, and this is going to help bind everything together. Also gives it lots of great flavor. 1 cup of grated mozzarella cheese, 3 diced green onions, just the green parts, a couple tablespoons of fresh parsley, 1/4 cup of fresh dill. I love having lots of fresh dill in this recipe. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of sea salt, ground black pepper, and 1 large egg. This is also going to help bind everything together. And now for the final and most important ingredient for our filling, we're going to need 2.5 cups, about 400 grams of tvorog. This is known as farmer cheese or quark. It's a really dry, crumbly type of curd cheese. It's not too sweet, not too salty, perfect for this recipe, and it melts really beautifully. I get mine at a local Eastern European market. If you're not able to find any near you, you could also use cottage cheese. You'll want to rinse the cheese in a cheesecloth and then let all the liquids drain out, and you can use just the curds for this recipe too. Add in our cheese. And then just mix everything together. You want a really nice uniform filling. And once you have this filling ready, you want to cover it, set it aside, and keep it at room temperature while your dough is proofing. My dough has proofed nicely. I'm going to gently punch it down. Turn out the dough. And then you can use either a knife or a bench scraper like this one, and we're going to divide the dough evenly into 12 or 16 pieces. This recipe can make 12 slightly larger piroshki or 16 slightly smaller ones. And you want to keep the dough covered as you're working on the piroshki. And now let's make some piroshki. So I'm using a lightly floured rolling pin. Make sure your work surface is floured as well. Just roll out each piece anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 inches in diameter. So if you're making 16, the dough will be a little bit smaller. I like to really fill these piroshki up with our cheese and egg mixture. I'm gonna add a generous amount, probably upwards to half a cup of the filling into the center. Want to make sure you're not getting any of the filling on the sides. To shape these, we're going to form a little pocket. Just gently lift and bring 4 corners of the dough together at the top. And we're going to pinch the seams tightly to ensure that none of that filling comes out. You want to make sure you're not getting any of the filling on the seams either. That'll make it super hard for you to seal the seal. I like to flip them over, flatten them out a little bit, give them some shape. I'm going to place my shaped piroshki onto a baking sheet. I've sprinkled some all-purpose flour over the top, and I'm going to let them stand here while they proof. I'm going to let my shaped piroshki proof on the baking sheet for about 20 to 30 minutes until that dough is light and fluffy again. And then once I'm done making these, I'm gonna start preheating my frying oil on the stove top. If you're planning to bake these, you could go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, then beat an egg, use a little pastry brush the egg wash over the top of the piroshki. You wanna bake them either seam side up or down, it doesn't matter. But I also like to sprinkle a little bit of sesame seeds or some fresh dill onto the piroshki before they go into the oven, just to give them a little bit of garnish. I'm going to start preheating my cooking oil. I like to use canola oil for frying piroshki. We need about 1/2 inch in our pan. I like to use this deep saute pan, and we want the oil to reach between 275 and 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Once our oil is nice and hot, the piroshki are proofed, we could start adding them into the hot oil. I usually fry about 3 at a time. You don't want to overcrowd your pan. Allow the piroshki plenty of room. And I like to keep the tray here on the stove top because it helps proof the dough a little bit faster. We'll let these fry on the first side for a couple of minutes until that dough is nice and golden brown, and then we'll flip it over and fry on the other side. And then once these are done, we're gonna lift them out of the oil, let some of the excess oil drip off, and then place onto a wire rack. I like to place a little paper towel underneath to catch any of the excess oil. These piroshki are going to be super, super hot when you just take them out of the oil, so I like to let them cool for at least 10 to 15 minutes. And I just want you guys to see the inside of the cheese here. That cheese is melted on the inside. It's just gooey, creamy, and everything's just kind of melted together. This is going to be incredible. And that's it for my egg and cheese piroshki recipe. I can't wait for you guys to try this recipe at home. Don't forget to head on down into that video description box for the recipe link, and make sure to check out some of the other piroshki recipes I have on my website and in my cookbook. Time to dig in and enjoy. I'm gonna grab one of these piroshki that's been cooling for a little bit. I mean, the filling on the inside, oh, so incredible. I love adding that mozzarella cheese. It makes it extra stretchy, extra cheesy. This right here is the ultimate snack. These piroshki are just to die for. The outside of the dough, it's like nice and crispy. On the inside, it's really light and fluffy. Then you get that creamy, cheesy filling. I love the addition of the hard-boiled eggs, the fresh dill, the green onions. I mean, I cannot ask for a better snack. This brings me right back to my childhood. You guys are going to love these incredible piroshki from the very first bite. And if you do happen to have any leftover, these are really great for the next day. You could just keep them in the refrigerator in a well-sealed container. They're really great, either chilled, like when they're cold, the cheese filling will kind of set up and thicken, or you can reheat them in the oven. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe at home as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching my latest episode, and I'll see you next time with a new recipe.